Hey, happy day. So I have a message for the divine feminine, and since I'm in the integration process of changing the narrative on many things, I'm going to change the term feminine to divine yin energy. And yin energy, as we know, is the feminine aspects of the duality of being, the opposite of yin and yang. And we tend to love to compartmentalize things, label things. They're easier to digest. I get that. But at some point, we need to level up and move beyond the basic sums and into more complicated ways of perceiving life, the layers and the spirals and the cycles. So, for the yin yang energetic flame connection and to the divine yin, the DY. So the message for you, for us currently is the following. There's this concept of twin flame and a false twin flame and a true twin flame. And I would like to reiterate that the reason I'm using the terms yin and yang instead of masculine and feminine is that when we use the gender-based narrative of this concept, then it changes the context from the internal, it reflects it off the self onto the external, rather than internalizing the whole experience, the whole concept on a much more spiritual, internal level between our own good and bad, yin and yang, hot and wet, fast and slow, giving and receiving, higher and lower, old and new. You get the idea? So the whole idea, it was about who is showing us who we are, but not what we are. Perhaps that is the false sense of self. How are we showing ourselves who we are, but it's not actually what we are? And versus our true truth, the twin flame union truth of non-duality and non-separation, it's one love. And so one love within ourselves, which is the harmony, the hieros gamos of the yin and yang, shows us who and what we are. So we have surrounded ourselves with people who have shown us things we like about ourselves, and we want to adopt that and be that, and we are and can be. And we have people around us that show us things we are perhaps, but we don't like. We recognize that perhaps those are aspects of our being. However, we do not wish to be that. And then there are others that we don't like, who show us things that we do want, who are achieving and having lives that we aspire for or yearn for or long for. They contain the sparks of our flames, hopes, dreams, and wishes that will lead to potentially a fire, a flame. So, it's yes, know who the fuck and what the fuck you are, essentially. And then it was this interesting concept came up of, are you in denial or in the Danube? And the tune for the Blue Danube came up, that composed piece. I'll put the link in for it below. So, which river are we flowing in? The Nile is a very long and twisty river with crocodiles, and it floods, and it goes through a barren landscape. So versus the Danube, which whatever is that, will relate to the romance of life. And we used, or I believe you that was played to calm, soothe, and uplift, and yes, be romantic and connect in a peaceful, loving, serene way. So which river are we floating in, or swimming in, or drowning in at the moment? And Michael rowed the boat ashore. So, and that it's like Archangel Michael. If we ask for divine intervention and divine help, then perhaps angels such as the Archangel Michael will provide some rescue, help us row our boat to shore. And then, what is different now? What's changed? Well, we're seeing things differently. We've had perspective shifts. We're no longer triggered, instead, we're shifted. And that, watch yesterday's video, watch tomorrow's video. Seriously, that's where we're at. Yesterday's news is old news. So yesterday's video talked about and the current energies have all been about seeing our landscapes with new eyes, and it's seeing beyond everything to the heart of the matter, the core of the matter, and a knowing that you know someone deeply. You don't need to speak words. There's an understanding. You see them because they are you. But what seems to happen is they seem to reflect aspects of ourselves we don't like, and challenge us, but yet we somehow admire that. It's we tap into, there's this deep respect, and for all the negative things we experience, there is this deep love and compassion and unconditional love, because you see yourself in that another. And yes, we do in many others, but this relationship is just like a truck driving through the mall and just creating havoc, but you understand why that happened. You don't agree with the action. There could have been a different way, but ultimately it achieved the goal, and actually it achieved the goal much more effectively, maybe not lovingly and kindly, but it did achieve the goal. So it creates chaos. And so it's there's this whole concept of trains, and each being in the infinity loop, the yin and the yang, the opposing forces, they are like trains. And it's like trains can only ride, one train can ride a track at a time, unless they are parallel rails, which they rarely are. Mostly the only time trains will meet is in stations, or when they're crossing over, but sometimes they will run parallel. And it talks about meeting up at stations, and there are different routes of service that trains follow, but the purpose of the trains is the same. And it's about, again, service and carrying the passengers, so it's those who we are in service to through the works we do. And we carry all sorts of passengers. Our passengers are the same, and essentially between, we have the same kinds of passengers on our trains. You'll get paying passengers and non-paying passengers. You'll get vandals and the sleepers and the readers. You'll get the drunks and the religious and the famous. And they'll both be blowing steam, and they'll be crossing paths, and they'll be passing the same scenery and experiencing the same landscape, just at different paces. And it's like, so everything is strangely familiar, because your experience and their experience are aligned in so many ways, except from a different you're just different trains. But you see how essentially everything is the same, except it's just two trains having their own experience, more intimate train experience, rather than if we pull out and just see the whole trains and the routes and what have you. And then thinking about the trains passing the landscapes, it was like, if a train could have a consciousness and awareness, would it think of making daisy chains in the fields when it sees the flowers? And then I see the same train passing that same landscape over and over through all the seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter. And as it does, it watches the landscape changing constantly. So the bloom of spring flowers, and then summer, the fullness of summer, the grasses and the trees in full leaf, and all the nature activity and people out and about, the aliveness of it. And then autumn, the trees changing colors and the leaves falling. And then winter, everything dies down, and there are less people, there's less activity. It feels slower and quieter and colder and darker. Time operates differently when we not having fun. But yet everything is the sameness, but yet it's always changing. The route is the same. However, what came to mind is there are powers beyond us. So let's imagine the Department of Transport. They can change the timetables, and so that how we operate in real time, and also our routes. So we can be influenced by external, perhaps higher outside forces. So perhaps things like that Angel Michael, who helps us row that boat ashore. And then it goes, eventually, who knows, because the timetables and routes are always changing according to the guiding hand that operates us. All we can hope for are neat tracks and frequent snacks. Chuff chuff, chuff chuff. And that, my lovelies, is the message that I hope resonates with your yin energies. Namaste, in the cage. Happy day.